so great, I don't have a mark on my face, and my upset son in Lisbon, and I just turned 22 years old. I must be the greatest. I told the world, I talk to God every day. If God's with the king, no matter, you're just the same. I shook up the world. I shook up the world. I shook up the world. I shook up the world.
I said, can I be a legend? Search your soul and answer me this question. Do you think I have what it takes to be great, but still be humble and learn from my mistakes?
Good night, everyone, and welcome back to your favorite sports show. No disrespect to the host here, but if you're watching this is indeed your favorite sports show. We have a special guest. I can't say Joe Morley because if you're a fan of this show, you're accustomed to Joe Morley. But we'll still introduce him anyhow, Joe from Joe Morley Sports, and also know the Warzone Sports Network. Welcome and good night, Joe. But the special guest, indeed, Cian McDermott, one of the 4 or 5 hosts, if I'm not mistaken, from the Sports Scoop. How are you, Cian?
I'm good. I'm ready to talk some football. It's been about a month planning, but we're finally here.
We are finally here. What's going on, Joe?
What's going on? It's good to be here with Cian and yourself, and ready to talk again. I love coming on this show. A lot of hard work. So yeah, you're probably right. Everybody probably loves this show more but when I'm on it, it's even better.
Yeah, it really is though.
Right.
Sorry though, tonight there's no Raiders talk unless we want to discuss who really, tanked in free agency. But we'll get to that. Guys, as we know for the last week, the major news, first, Miami was at number 3 overall, and they traded out to San Francisco for a ton of draft capital, and we won't even mention how many picks they got back there. And then in the blink of an eye, they got back into the top 6, trading with Philadelphia to move to 6, pushing Philadelphia Eagles back to 12. So I'll start with Cian. What is the biggest fallout of this entire trade scenario in your estimation?
In terms of Miami, obviously, because they've kind of been the headline, I don't see a fallout. It's obviously they're showing we like Tua. We're going to stick with him at least for the next year. And they traded out of a top 3 where at 3, if they're not looking for quarterback, obviously they cut Kyle Van Noy, surprisingly, so linebackers now a need. And defensively at 3, it would have been a reach to take Parsons or Karamoa, the 2 probably best in the class. And then, maybe you go Penei Sewell. But I think trading back was smart. I mean, right now with the Niners moving up to 3, it's possibly 4 quarterbacks going off with the first 4 picks in the draft. And I think Dolphins were smart. They moved down. They get, 2 first-rounders and a third. They have 5 first-rounders. I think something we're actually not seeing is this could be a potential load-up to get Deshaun Watson, who is now at an all-time low on the market, whether he be in the league or not next year. I think it was really smart. I don't see a fallout, at least for Miami. I think they played this out really well, and I think they're right now in the position to stack their roster. And, Tua at least will be there for next year.
What about you, Joe? What is the biggest, take from this entire situation? Miami first trading out of 3 and then back to 6.
Well, it means 49ers don't like Jimmy G. It's finally come to light. All that talk about it means the Niners feel that they're a quarterback away from winning a championship, I'm guessing. And the Dolphins love Tua, or are going to give him that extra year. It was a surprise, I think, because you're giving up 2 future first-round picks and a third-round pick to move up. What they move up from 12 to 3? So what is that? My math isn't that good. What is that? 9 spots.
9 picks indeed.
So they move up 9 spots, and you give up that much to get the 3rd best quarterback in the draft, more than likely, right? If about it, you're not even getting the top guy on the board. You're getting the 3rd best quarterback. So it's kind of a shocker. If you're a 49er fan, I know a lot of 49er fans are happy about it, but then you're like, which quarterback are we taking? Which quarterback? We don't even know which one they're taking. And it's going to be interesting to see what they do. But I think the Niners look desperate in this moment because they see the rest of their division building up and getting better. And then I think the Miami Dolphins are now winners in this season. They're doing it the old Patriots way, right? Miami Dolphins build Patriots organization. That's the way they're doing it. Building through the draft, building. They got that plan, and it looks like they're keeping it.
Mm-hmm. Justin, you're muted.
I think that also, sorry about that. I guess I was getting some feedback on my mic. So for me, the biggest fallout does not even include a player or a team actually involved in this entire situation. And for me, it is the Houston Texans and Deshaun Watson for multiple reasons. And after this situation, I don't see a scenario where Deshaun Watson now can be traded out of Houston, and I'll explain why. When you look first, one of his main destinations he wanted to go to was San Francisco. Now, obviously, with the draft capital that they let go, that doesn't seem like a scenario unless Houston is just willing to take the number 3 overall pick. And obviously, that we saw what I want to say Carson Wentz went for. We saw what Matthew Stafford went for. So there's no way that they're just taking the number 3 overall pick. So that takes San Francisco out of the running. The other team that was huge in the running, the New York Jets, and your fellow Warzone Sports Network host brought this up, Joe, fellow podcaster. The San Francisco 49ers don't move up to number 3 overall unless they know what the New York Jets are doing at number 2. And they must know because there is a lot of overlap. Obviously, Robert Saleh is a former, defensive coordinator of the 49ers. They're all friends. He and Kyle Shanahan are best friends. Matt LaFleur's baby brother, Mike LaFleur, is also a part of that group, and he is the offensive coordinator in New York. So they're very close, so they know what New York is doing. And if they know what New York is doing, one of those possibilities is not a trade. Because if New York trades that pick, then they would not know what that person who's trading for the pick, what they're going to do with that pick. So then it tells me New York is comfortable taking one of these top 3, top 4 quarterbacks, and my guess would be Zach Wilson. So that takes them out of the Deshaun Watson running. Cian makes a good point in that Miami has a lot of draft capital going forward, but I thought with a such a quarterback-loaded draft this year, because you don't know what's coming next year with the certainty, with so many highly rated quarterbacks this year, and Miami traded out of a position where you can draft at least 4 of them. At number 6 overall, your best bet maybe to be drafting Matt Jones. And I don't see a situation where Houston is taking number 6 overall pick and a number of other first rounders just to get Matt Jones in place of Deshaun Watson. So that knocks off Miami. It knocks off the New York Jets, crosses off San Francisco. You are now left with a disgruntled Deshaun Watson in Houston who does not want to play there, and they can risk to say that this guy is willing to hold out next season. And I don't want to touch on the allegations, the charges being levied against him because we don't know what the situation is. But let us say it is true. Some of these are true. Houston missed a great opportunity to rebuild immediately because let us say, for argument's sake, New York, you traded with New York. You could get the number 2 overall pick and Sam Darnold and a host of other first-round draft picks. Now you're going to be stuck with a quarterback whose reputation might be sullied and does not even want to play for the franchise. So for me, the biggest loser out of all this are both the Houston Texans and Deshaun Watson. I don't know how y'all guys feel about that take.
Yeah, no, I would certainly agree. I think this is something I was talking about yesterday. We were live streaming on YouTube, and I was saying the exact thing. The Houston, again, for argument's sake, say the allegations are true. They go from potentially getting 3, 4 first rounders, 3 second rounders, Sam Darnold, or a team I really would have loved to see him go to, the Carolina Panthers. You get Teddy Bridgewater, someone who's really good at learning offenses fast, someone who can go in, be a mentor. You go draft a Lance, you go draft a Fields, and immediately you have that quarterback to mentor for that half of year. And I mean, we've seen that throughout the NFL. Like, a young quarterback comes in, plays amazing. And right now, they can go from that to getting nothing. Because if those allegations are true, Deshaun doesn't play in the NFL again. And I mean, obviously, that's not what we want to happen. And as you said, we won't touch on if they're true or not. But I think right now, you look at it, free agency, 3-4 teams get their quarterback for next year. Then you go into, the draft, another, top 4 teams get their quarterback. So then you're going into already beginning of the offseason, beginning of OTAs, and there's about 2 teams who still are interested in Watson, and the market is a lot thinner because now it's not as much of a bidding war. There aren't teams that are willing to break the bank to go get Watson. And I think one of those teams could possibly, right now we'll have to see obviously as the draft, what happens there. But I think the Texans, and I've touched on a lot, I really think this organization is the most dysfunctional in the NFL. And I think how they've dealt with Watson is just really stupid. I feel like I could have done it better. I think it's simple. He doesn't want to be there. You trade him immediately. You rebuild. You're in a draft class where it's quarterback heavy. There's talent there. It's not like there isn't. Next year there isn't. So, you're kind of stuck if you can't get one this year. And I think, they really missed out. And I feel bad for Deshaun.
Yeah, I can agree with Deshaun Watson being the loser of the quarterback class. But you had to think that the Texans weren't going to move him anyways. No matter what, the charges, not charges, no matter what, I think Texas was hell-bent on keeping him. And they were going to change his mind. And they had it in their mind that, hey, we're going to change his mind. And then all the rest of the stuff comes out. And if it's true or not, we'll find out. But I think the rest of the teams figured that out pretty quick. And they made up their own minds. So, yeah, you could say they're losers, but I don't even know if they were playing the game, to be honest with you, because they were trying to keep their pieces.
So Ken touched on it already, so I'll ask you, Joe. Are you kind of surprised that Miami traded out of the number 3 overall spot when you look at how talent deep this draft is on the offensive side with Kyle Pitts and the 3 stud receivers?
I wasn't shocked that they traded because when you looked at the teams that were, like you said, when we look at it, you see that Jacksonville's taking one. You probably assumed that New York was taking one. Mm. And then you looked at Miami and you're like, yeah, if they're cool with Tua, this would be the trade. Because if you're not taking a quarterback in the top round and you could trade it, you trade back. That should be the rule for every team. If you're not taking a quarterback, you trade back. And I think they played it, very well. They got their, everything. What they did after that and moved back up to number 6 was awesome too. Even if they would have stayed at 12, I think they would have been in a good position to still grab one of these guys because as it looks right now, 5 quarterbacks could go top 10. 5 quarterbacks could go top 10. If 5 quarterbacks go top 10, like I'm saying, and I said it 3 times right now because it's so crazy to think about it. Like that, it's like unreal to think about it because we haven't seen that in a while. But if these 5 quarterbacks go top 10, how many great players are going to fall? How many of these great players that we're talking about are going to fall? And they would have fell to number 12. So sitting at number 6, you might even see a second trade by Miami sitting at number 6. Because say they're sitting at 6, and the top 4 picks go quarterback, right? And the one quarterback, especially like I put on a little mock draft this morning on my little page. The one quarterback I left out of that top 6, I put the top 7 picks. So in the top 7, you know who didn't go? I didn't have Trey Lance go. So I had Mac Jones. I had the other 4 go. So Trey Lance I had fallen. So if Miami's sitting there at 6 and Trey Lance is on the board, somebody's coming knocking. You know what I mean? So yeah, we're gonna see some interesting trades there. And I don't think Miami's done at number 6. And it wasn't surprised that they want to add, but they want to add receiver. They don't need a quarterback. They're good.
So then, Ken, are the Dolphins? Does this move tell you the Dolphins are indeed, comfortable with Tua, and should they be comfortable with Tua?
No, fan of Tua. I don't think he can do anything at a high level, and I'm not saying like you look at quarterbacks. You look at Trevor Lawrence. He can throw the ball perfectly. He goes through his progressions really fast. He can find a receiver. He can pinpoint the ball. Zach Wilson as well. You see all these quarterbacks, and there's like, all right, that guy has that one thing. We're going to exploit that on this team. He fits our scheme. He fits our offense. But in terms of Tua, I don't see a huge arm. I don't see an incredibly accurate quarterback. I don't see someone who has a pocket presence. And I don't see someone who can lead an offense. And I think, again, as I've said, in a quarterback-heavy draft, and even as Joe said, if Lance falls out, we'll see because they have 5 first-round picks. Is Deshaun still out of the picture? I would not agree with keeping Tua. Again, I know, and I'm a Giants fan, so it's like Daniel Jones has been giving 2 years, and he's not good. Sam Darnold has been given this amount of time, and I've kind of been saying, give them weapons. So again, Tua, it is a bit unfair, but I feel like in the position Miami are in, it's not like a regular, you have a rookie quarterback. There's not really like a quarterback right now within their first year that like you can move off. So I don't agree with Tua. I think, maybe give him another year. I hope to be proven wrong. But right now, I'm not a massive fan of Tua, and I think they're in a position to get a franchise QB, which I don't think Tua is.
Joe, we're going to bring back Cian on the show because, I told everyone I'm not a fan of Tua either. So am I hearing a disagreement now, Joe? Are you coming now to be all of a sudden a Tua apologist? Please tell me no.
No, I'm not a big Tua fan either. I'm on your guys' side. I started my page almost a year ago. I started my own podcast, and at that time, people were looking at me crazy because I said Tua's going to drop in the draft. He didn't drop, but I was like, he has to drop, right? Mm-hmm. And the Miami Dolphins still took him. I thought they were going to take Herbert or an offensive line. They didn't do it. You saw how protective they were of him this year, of taking him out of games, letting Ryan Fitzpatrick do it. And, I don't get it. I'm on the record of saying Miami's going to be one of those teams this year that's going to be overrated, that people are going to jump on and be like, Miami's going to be that team. Oh, they're the team. Miami's going to go and win this. We don't know how good Tua is, like he said. We don't know how good he is. Now he has to play the whole game. Now he has to play the whole season. Can he take these hits? Can he make the throws that he needs to do? Yes, that defense is set up perfectly for him. That Miami defense is very underrated, and they're going to carry that team. But come on, for people to think, and I mean, it brings us back to Mac Jones and stuff. If you think an Alabama quarterback is good just because of his skills, you got to remember how many people were playing around Tua. How many people are playing around Mac Jones this year, and for the Dolphins to be 100% sold on Tua, you got to be wondering. I think they did their homework. I think they did their homework on the quarterbacks this year, and they probably put Tua about the same spot. So if you're about even, you stay with the guy that you have. You don't go for a new guy. So I think they're going to let him have a shot, and we'll see what happens after that. But he better come out prepared.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I am not a fan of Alabama quarterbacks at the NFL. I mean, I don't think much people are. One of you made a reference, I think, Joe, speaking of this year's quarterbacks and where do you rate them as opposed to somebody like Tua. You don't move up from where you are to number 3 overall unless, of course, you are targeting the quarterback, as you mentioned, Joe, but you're likely having to settle for the third best, or at least the very best, the third best quarterback in this class. So, Cian, we'll start with you. We're hearing a lot of rumors. First, it was Kyle Shanahan liking Trey Lance, and then he goes to Matt Jones's pro day in favor of Justin Fields, and then he turns around and says, oh, but we'll get to Justin Fields later. And now it is that I think the top brass has come out and definitely said we will get a quarterback, but this is not the end of Jimmy Garoppolo. In your estimation, Cian, and I know I've been all over the place, who is that quarterback the San Francisco 49ers eventually take?
I'm going to quickly, before I say that, just list my top 5. It's going to go Lawrence, I got Wilson, I got Lance, I got Fields, and then I have Kellen Mond from Texas A&M.
Wait, hold on. You just don't get to drop that bond. But, what? So you're saying you do not have Matt Jones as the 5th best? Oh, my gosh. I wish I knew that before. I think so. I wish we had Denson sort of. Oh, my gosh. I'm homework here. Wow. So I'll give you a minute to crap on Matt Jones. Go right ahead.
I mean, we've said it. He plays, and I think we saw LSU last year, incredible team. Burrow was great. So I'm not saying quarterbacks who play with great people aren't going to be good, but you see Mac Jones play with Devontae Smith, arguably the best receiver we've ever seen in college. I mean, the numbers he put up were absurd. Najee Harris, who is an all-down back, he's powerful. An offensive line that has 4 first-round talents next year and this year, and a defense that has the best corner in the country. I'm the best defensive tackle in the country. The second-round talent in Dylan Moses. I'm sure I'm missing others, but I mean, Alabama never is bad. And Mac Jones, not an experienced quarterback. And again, Kellen Mond has 4 years. Mac Jones has, I think, 1. I'm pretty sure this was his only year playing. So again, 1 year playing, you play with the best quarterback. You're Mac Jones. You're not a mobile quarterback like Lance, Fields, Wilson, and Lawrence in a league where you're moving off pocket passers. Again, Tom Brady goes against that, but it's Tom Brady. Mac Jones is not Tom Brady. He's a pure pocket passer. He can throw a great ball. He's accurate. I'm not going to deny that. But you go into the NFL, and depending on what team he gets, he goes to, I'm sure first of all, he's going up against NFL defensive linemen who are better, and he's going to have the offensive line. I'm sure that won't be as good as the one he had in Alabama. And he's going to probably have to be forced to run a little bit. And can he do that? I don't know. And that's why I think Kellen Mond has the upper hand there. But Mac Jones, again, I mean, he could surprise us. I'm just not a massive fan of low. It's just he doesn't have experience, and he hasn't showed me I can do this when I don't have this. Like, I can still be good when I don't have talent. But that's what I have to say. I can move on to I think the 49ers will take there, though.
Go right ahead. I was just waiting for that hot take.
No worries.
I bring Joe on for the hot takes, and then he gets all politically correct on my show. I don't know why he does that. I bring Joe up for this purpose. So go ahead. Who do the 49ers take at number 3 overall?
3. It's got to be. I think it's going to be Trey Lance. I think right now a lot of people are saying, and I believe I was watching your interview with Doyle, and I think he said Trey Lance is. I might be completely saying this wrong. But I'm just gonna. But Lance has a great arm. He's mobile. We see what Shanahan can do with mobile quarterbacks. He hasn't really had one in quite a bit. They just signed, Trent Williams to a gigantic deal. So obviously, that can be. You can say, well, that's to protect Jimmy Garoppolo, but I think they're looking for the future. They obviously didn't go for Watson. Trey Lance has a gigantic arm. He's mobile, can throw a beautiful pass. And I think in a league where you go up against the Rams defense, you're going up against one of the most talented players we ever seen in the NFL, and Aaron Donald. You have Jalen Ramsey. You're in the hardest division basically in the league right now, especially with the 49ers coming back and being healthy. You need someone who will be there, someone who can make a play when he's getting pressure. He can move, he can throw the ball really well. I think he goes through his progressions well. I don't think he targets one receiver and looks them down. I really like what I've seen, especially after what I saw from his pro day. I think Shanahan will look for a mobile, really high potential, someone who can sit behind Garoppolo for a year. And I'm a big fan of Lance there. I know Joe's not going to like that much, but I'm a fan of Lance at 3 there.
Joe, do you have anything nearly as hot? If not, let's move on. No, I'm joking.
I like Lance, and more people should be like, Lance is going to the Niners, but that's not going to happen. We all know that's not going to happen. And the Niners are going to, I don't know, because it cringes me every time I say it, and it gives me that headache. But the Niners are going to take Mac Jones at number 3. They're traded up for Mac Jones, and I know. Look at the faces that you guys just made. I get that same thing. But put it together. Put everything together. They're not going to get Zach Wilson. They're not going to get Trevor Lawrence, right? So that's gone. Those guys are gone. Now you're thinking about the other guys. Do you take the project in Trey Lance, who's not really a project, but he's more of the mobile guy that you're gonna have? He's probably gonna have to sit there for a little bit. You could bring in Mac Jones, who fits everything that you want in the Kyle Shanahan offense. Why? Because look at the past quarterbacks. Who's the one guy that Shanahan loves? Kirk Cousins. Why? I have no idea. Nobody else loves him because that's not the way you fix your football team. That shouldn't be one word that you bring up when you want to fix your quarterback position. It shouldn't be Kirk Cousins. Kirk Cousins, Matt Ryan, Jimmy G. All these guys right there. Look at, they all are similar, and you put Mac Jones right there in it. And I know, hey, that's a pretty hot take to put Mac Jones at number 3.
It is. It really is.
Certainly is.
Your GM and your head coach to Mac Jones's pro day over Josh's Fields pro day means a little bit. It means maybe they're playing that smoke fire, but then he also comes out and says, hey, when we have the number 3 pick, we don't have to hide a lot of stuff. We already know what's going on. And it makes them a little bit more confident, being best friend with the Jets, like you said. So the Jets, they already know what the Jets are doing. We've already known what Jacksonville's been doing. We knew Trevor Lawrence was going number 1 3 years ago.
Yeah.
So
essentially,
it's finding out what the Niners are going to do. But I think Mac Jones is going to be it, and it's probably not the popular pick, and that's why I said Trey Lance or Josh Fields has the potential to fall just a little bit. I mean, they won't fall out of the top 10. but they have a potential to fall out of that top 5. So Mac Jones is my pick for San Francisco.
I love the hot take. And here's the thing, and Neil is probably tired of hearing me say this because I am a fan of reiterating this point. That Kyle Shanahan offense that he learned from his dad is so quarterback friendly. I suspect any of the three of us can come in there and look like Pro Bowlers. And I'll give you an example. Matt Ryan, in his lone MVP year, that was under Kyle Shanahan as his offensive coordinator in Atlanta. Then you see the very next year, Jared Goff takes the Rams to the Super Bowl. It's the same offense that Sean McVay runs in Los Angeles. The year after that, again, Kyle Shanahan is back in the Super Bowl with Jimmy Garoppolo with that zone running scheme offense all over again. And you've seen it in Green Bay with Matt LaFleur. Aaron Rodgers not only wins his third MVP, but again, the Packers go to successive NFC championship games. This offense is catered to making life easy for quarterbacks simply because they marry the run and the pass so well. Everything looks like each other, and you make the read so simple for the quarterback, especially coming out of play action and naked bootleg. It is so very easy, and any quarterback is likely to excel, especially when Shanahan turns to that two-back set that you're seeing now Matt LaFleur do in Green Bay. So with all that being said, Matt Jones may very well go because you're not going to ask Matt Jones to do too much. Definitely, this team is built to win right now. There's no doubt about that. And you can see that the 49ers brass is very tired of Jimmy Garoppolo for two clear reasons. I always say the best ability is your availability. Jimmy Garoppolo has missed 23 games over 3 seasons. And then on the other side, obviously we know the best trait of a quarterback is to protect the football. And I think in 30 career starts, Jimmy G has 26 interceptions, I want to say. That is not going to do it for a team that is built to win right now. And I'm talking about players like Nick Bosa. And on the other side, you see they have Deebo Samuels, Brandon Ayuk. This is the team built to win right now. And I do not know if Kyle Shanahan is willing to live with Garoppolo and his mistakes and his inavailability for much longer. So whoever it is, whether it be Matt Jones, whether it be Trey Lance, and I realize the guys have not even mentioned Justin Fields.
Right.
Me neither, because if you miss Justin Fields' pro day to go to Matt Jones, that tells me all they really need to know.
I do, if you don't mind me jumping in, Justin.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah, so again, right, Mac Jones, I can see what you think about the offensive fit, but look at Trey Lance. What does he run in North Dakota? RPOs. He runs a lot of, obviously, why am I completely blanking on the word? Where I have play action. I don't know. I was completely messing up. Play action. And look at what receivers cater toward those kind of plays. Kind of gadget wide receivers. You look, Deebo Samuel, very good with running the ball. Brandon Ayuk can run the ball as well. Those gadget guys who are very good at moving in and out across the line. And I think Trey Lance fits that air it out, throw the ball downfield offense. I think it makes a lot of sense. And again, I'm gonna say it. I just think the mobility he has is gonna, he's gonna push Shanahan to take him. And again, this is if you look right now, look at the stats. They're number one in explosive pass offense, 49ers. So they're looking for someone who can throw the ball downfield now. Mac Jones can do that as well as Trey Lance. But what I see is you take Trey Lance who can throw the ball just as well and can run. I don't see how you would take Mac Jones over. Again, we're not talking about Justin Fields, who I think as well fits that offense, in his own way. But I just think Trey Lance fits, and I think he sits behind Garoppolo, who obviously they say will probably play this year or at least start this year. So I think Lance, again, may not be taken, but I think he fits, or I think he's the best fit for them.
I want to agree with you, Cian. So here's the thing. I'm going to make this very interesting. And so your pick is still Matt Jones, right, Joe?
Yeah, I'm not arguing that Lance is probably the better pick. Mm-hmm. Lance and Fields are like, if I was the 49ers, I'm taking Lance or Fields. But I'm just saying I'm going with Mac Jones for the 49ers, yeah.
Okay, I'm going to nail you to that because what I'm going to do to make this interesting, I am guessing, Cian, that your most hated rival in the division would be the Dallas Cowboys. And for you, Joe, would that be the Chargers for you?
No, the Kansas City Chiefs or the Denver Broncos or Chargers are nothing. Chargers are nothing to the Raider fans.
Yes, the Broncos. Yes, that's even better. The Broncos. So here's it, guys. We're gonna nail down those picks, and I have Neil off-screen rating. If indeed that whoever gets this wrong, and I am with Cian, I'm going with Trey Lance to pick. If indeed it is Matt Jones, I will wear a Bears jersey or a Bears hat for a week. And Cian will also wear a Cowboys memorabilia of some sort. And if we get it wrong and Joe gets it right, or the other way around, then Joe has to wear some brand of Broncos gear. We're good for that.
I'm good.
Sure. And then I hope we both get it wrong. I hope Josh Fields is the answer.
I hope Justin Fields the answer. And then we all have to...
You know what's funny? I always say Josh Fields. I get him confused with the player. So
yeah. No worries. Baseball's coming up. So all three of us, I can't wait. All three of us then to have to come back when Justin Fields goes at number 3, and we all have to wear our hated division rivals jerseys.
Yeah, it's all good.
Speaking of a hated, go ahead. Sorry, Joe.
One thing to go back on the topic that you were talking about. So you're saying, and we might go a little bit off topic, but what you were saying right now, you were saying that offense is so easy and so good for quarterbacks. So basically, you just dismissed everything that Aaron Rodgers has ever done in his career, right?
Hold on. No, there's no argument that Aaron Rodgers is an all-time great, huh? But there's also and I'm going to give Matt LaFleur a lot of credit because I don't think he gets enough. It is not a coincidence that in year 2 of Matt LaFleur's offense, all of a sudden you see Aaron Rodgers, and make no mistake, Aaron Rodgers was in decline over the last couple of seasons. Then you see all of a sudden a return to MVP form. This is not to say that Aaron Rodgers is not great, but that offense is so easy. We're talking all of a sudden Robert Tonyan, a guy that no one knows outside of Green Bay, leading all tight ends in touchdowns. What? What? Yeah, there is a reason for this offense. And I mean, just look at the quarterbacks. Aaron Rodgers is an all-time great. So take him out. Matt Ryan gets MVP in that offense. Jared Goff, who the LA Rams just quickly kicked out the front door. They didn't even tell him bye, didn't even serenade him, didn't say, wish you well. They just kicked him right out the front door. Got the Rams to a Super Bowl in that offense. Jimmy Garoppolo, who is on the San Francisco roster, the same San Francisco 49ers who gave up everything to get the third best quarterback, not Deshaun Watson, the third best quarterback in this draft. Jimmy Garoppolo of that same team got them to win in a play, because if he hits that simple play action pass on third and whatever it was in the fourth quarter, we're talking about something different. We're talking about the Super Bowl champion San Francisco 49ers. He got them to an he got them to a Super Bowl. And as I just mentioned, he has 26 interceptions in 30 career starts. Yeah, this offense is mighty simple. No doubt about it. And whoever is drafted second overall, because I hear all the draft pundits saying the quarterback who goes to San Francisco is in the best situation. Hell no. The guy who goes to New York is in the best situation, because Matt LaFleur's baby brother, Mike LaFleur, is going to put him in the same situation. And I'm sorry, let me not pretend like I don't know who's going to New York. We all know. Zach Wilson is going to be in the best scenario. And if you want a hot take, Joe and Cian, here it is right now. The New York Jets are going to make the playoffs above both the Miami Dolphins and the New England Patriots. You heard it here first. You can put that on your different shows. You can cut this out of this YouTube whenever I post it. The New York Jets are going to make the playoffs out of the AFC East above both Miami and New England. Write that down. Of course, Buffalo's...
Neil, write that down. Write that down.
Yeah, write that down. My co-host, Sir, is a Jets fan. I'm sure he would love to hear you say that. But I think the chances of that are the chances of... I can't even... I don't even know.
You gotta have talent. You still gotta have talent to play up there.
I don't see it. And especially with what the Patriots did, I don't...
Oh, don't worry. We're going to get to the Patriots. Don't rush the brush, Cian. We're going to get to the Patriots towards the end of the.
You just said that. Well, that right there is shocking because
Yeah.
I made a post just I don't know a couple hours ago that said the NFL made a big deal to add 17 games and they added the Jets
Yeah.
versus
saw
the
that.
Eagles. Come on,
Uh-huh.
Well, you've made this even easier because it's the perfect segue into Philly. So the third team involved in this whole brouhaha, none other than the Philadelphia Eagles, are moving out of the top 10 altogether to pick at number 12. So, guys, and I'm going to start with you, Joe. Who do the Eagles take at number 12?
You know what? The more and more I look at it, it's actually probably a good pick for the Eagles to move down. I know all the stuff that goes behind it, the trading Carson Wentz, the tanking in the last game of the season to get to number 6, and then now you get rid of everybody and you still trade away. So they go down number 12. I think it might be a good thing because they're sitting there with so many needs, right? I project the Eagles to be the worst team in the NFL this season, this upcoming season. I think they will be the worst team. So I don't know what that record would be because we had another game. It could be 13-14 now. Is that what it is?
3-14, yeah. 3-14, that's about good.
So we'll give them that many losses, but I think they're going to be the worst team. They have so many holes. They need wide receiver. We got to wonder what they're doing at running back with Miles Sanders because Miles Sanders can't stay on the field. Their offensive line is horrible. They're going to go with Jalen Hurts. They have no defense. Like you could say, like, oh, they have a good defense. No, they don't have a good defense. It's not there. They were getting burnt all the time. So you got to wonder. At number 12, it's going to take a couple people off the board and make their decision a little bit more easier because I'm thinking that's what they wanted. Like, hey, let's see what falls off the board. Boom, boom, boom. Okay, now we're stuck with the top 2 cornerbacks. Okay, now we're stuck with the top tackle. I think that they draft a cornerback myself. I think that's why they went so far down because they weren't going to go offense. I think they figured the wide receiver that they would want would be off the board. So why not trade down and get their top pick at a cornerback down there? And it could be. I think you guys talked about him earlier on the scoop was J.C. Horn.
Mm. Oh wow, J.C. Horn. Okay.
I would say it would be between him or I'm going blank on the other guy's name right now.
Patrick Surtain.
Patrick Surtain.
Yeah, Surtain, and then there's one more.
Caleb Farley.
Farley, yeah.
Yeah.
So, I mean, imagine sitting there at number 12. You have your pick at those 3 guys. If one of them aren't off the board, I think that's where we see the Eagles go at number 12.
So, sorry to ask a Giants fan to tell me about the Eagles, but Cian, where do the Eagles go at number 12? Because the reason I brought you all on the show, I can't answer that question myself. So I was like, all right, well, let's bring these 2 guys.
I would. It's actually really interesting. I would say at 12, it'll be the best receiver available. I think whether that, and in my notes right now, I have it as Devontae Smith or Jalen Waddle, but I think what could be really interesting is if they move on from Ertz, could it be Kyle Pitts? You know, as Joe said, they have not been able to get, those Eagles receiver have not been able to get separation for 2 years. And Kyle Pitts is a 6'6", mismatch, as I've seen. I think you guys have said on Warzone, kind of that Darren Waller, you know, Kyle Pitts is really hard to compare to anyone. He's one of the best tight ends we've seen in 15 years, but he's kind of that mismatch. But in terms of receiver, I mean, I'm a big fan of Jalen Hurts. I think he can be their guy, and I think you have to give them weapons. I think it's got to be Waddle or Smith if they're there, and Chase even if he's there. I think Chase, you know, people are saying he's the best receiver, and I think even trading down. I think we've seen receivers. I mean, we've seen Devontae Smith fall a lot in draft boards because of his size. And again, what I've actually seen, which I think is interesting, is what if there's a quarterback sitting there and the Bronco, there's a, I don't know what I was going to say, but say the Eagles make another move on draft day, say the Dolphins and the Eagles trade up again, they trade up to 9 and slap Dallas in the face and go get Surtain and take away their corner. We'll see, but I think right now it's got to be receiver because I think you got to give him weapons. I mean, unless they go out and get someone in free agency, which everyone's gone. But I think it's got to be receiver, definitely, because I think they're just who's there for the Eagles. There's not much.
And that's the thing, right? I figured after the owner came out and said to give Jalen Hurts a real shot at being the quarterback, obviously then decided not to take one. Or they're not going to take one. But if you're at number 6, then you're going to have your choice of 4 special wide receiving talents if we decide to put Kyle Pitts in that group. And I'm not sure if you can get your selection at number 12 if you're going to have your choice. Obviously, over the years, we've seen there's no need to take a wide receiver that high, especially when you see over the years all the Hall of Fame receivers that were not basically lottery picks. Even this last season, you saw Justin Jefferson was a mid-first round pick, and he had a historic season. But my thing is, you hear people talk about transcendent talent when they talk about Kyle Pitts, who, in my estimation, may be the second best player in this draft.
Mm-hmm.
Then you have somebody, to me, I have Jamar Chase just above Jalen Waddle and Devontae. Why would I trade out of the number 6 spot, which guarantees me any one of those 4 players? Because, as we mentioned, 4 quarterbacks will go in the first 4 picks. And then we can estimate that the Panthers choosing at number 7 or 8 will take one as well. And we figured the offensive lineman from Oregon will go number 5 to Cincinnati. Joe is shaking his head, so I'm going to get Joe to jump in very shortly. You are going to have your choice of Kyle Pitts, Devontae Smith, Jalen Waddle, or Jamar Chase that's in there. And I mean, if you, like Cian mentioned, if you're moving on from Zach Ertz, wouldn't you want to move on from Zach Ertz with a generational talent in Kyle Pitts? I just don't understand. So I'm let Joe, before I segue into the next topic, Joe, you shook your head there just now. Give me your take there, Joe.
You know what? I was all for the Bengals taking Sewell from Oregon, and I'm not buying it anymore. I think that's another reason why they traded down, because they probably got word, too, that the Bengals are going to take Jamar Chase from LSU, or they're going to take Kyle Pitts. I think the Bengals will take an offensive weapon instead of an offensive line at number 5, and that they just said, hey, we're not going to get the guy that we want. Let's move on down. Like you said, I mean, I don't know why teams do what they do, and I don't think the Bengals need a wide receiver, but who did they bring in? Who were they trying to get? They were trying to get Kenny Golladay. They were trying to get these guys. They did bring in an offensive line in Reef, so they did that, but they didn't get the wide receiver they were trying to get in free agency. So why not go get the top guy and get the guy that Joe Burrow's used to playing with and make your quarterback happy for the next couple of years? So I think that's another reason why. But, yeah, Kyle Pitts is somebody that everybody should be looking at. But since he plays tight end, some people are worried about it. But he's a playmaker. They just need to look at him as a playmaker and draft him and put him on your team and figure out where he plays later. But that's what teams don't look at. So I don't think Kyle Pitts makes it to number 12, because I think the Dallas Cowboys would be like, hey, we'll take him right here. But like you said, it's going to get – that bottom half of the top 10 is going to get very, very interesting. And I think the Eagles just sit there and go, okay, we'll take whoever the best available who falls to us, and then we also pick the first-round pick next year.
So that's the thing, guys. Now you're hearing reports coming out of Philadelphia that the Brass, all of a sudden, they are not sure about Jalen Hurts. So if that's the case, and you were sitting there at 6, likely being able to draft the 4th best of the 5 projected first-round quarterbacks, do you agree with their move to trade out, considering now they're saying they're not sure about Jalen Hurts, and they also got rid of Carson Wentz? Was this a wise move to trade out of the top 6? I'll start with you, Cian.
I think it's a tough one, because as we said, at 6 you can get obviously whatever you want, because it's going to be top 4. I mean, I would say definitely top 3 quarterbacks. I don't know about 4, but that's for a different time. But in terms of I think the Carson, I mean, when you sent me the question, it was like, should I have traded Carson Wentz? And I don't know if it was their choice. I mean, the relationship there was broken. He had an awful year the year before. I think he was destined to move on. He goes to Colts. They get their guy. It made sense. You get a conditional second that will most likely turn into a first. That's smart. There you go. And you now have Jalen Hurts, who showed a lot. And as I said, I liked him a lot. And I think, as I said, I mean, if we don't think that Tua, or if you're a Tua fan, you don't think he was given a fair shot, you can't think Hurts was given a fair shot. He was given, 3.5 games, and then was taken out against Washington, which was a, awful move. Obviously, I mean, I was even as a Giants fan, I was like, "What are you doing?" And that's why I think I think they should take receiver, give him a fair shot. And I think, he played, 3.5 games, 4 games, if you count kind of he went in like at halftime. So if you combine 2 half games a game, threw for 1,000, I believe, and 61 yards, threw 4 interceptions to 6 touchdowns. So that was amazing. But you look, I believe he had 2 100-yard games, won them that Saint game in a very convincing performance by Hurts. That was like, wow, I mean, this guy can beat the Saints, and we saw what they were doing last year. And then he goes on to throw for 2 300-yard games against the Cardinals and the Cowboys. They ended up losing both of those games, but I think that's attributed to obviously that awful defense. Their coaching staff was bad. They didn't have any receivers. He threw 3 touchdowns against the Cardinals. So I think, again, it's you let him play a full season, and you'll know by Thanksgiving if he's not your guy. And then it's like, all right, let's plan for next year. That's the same thing with Tua. You'll know by Thanksgiving if they're not your guy, and you'll move on. But I think Hurts, I don't think they should question. I don't know if there's really an option now, especially with trading down to 12, unless somehow someone falls there. But I'm a fan of Hurts. I think he'll be good, and I think they should at least give him a year.
So before Joe jumps in, we're going to go to the guy who just said Bengals should not take an Oregon player, and he's wearing an Oregon shirt. Yeah, defend yourself there, Joe.
No, I'm saying the Bengals should take him. If they were smart and a great organization, they would take the offensive lineman and protect their young quarterback. But I'm just saying they won't do it. I'm not knocking Penny Sewell at all. Like, he should be taking one of the top picks.
Yeah.
And if you can get an offensive lineman like that, you take him. But I'm just saying the Bengals are going to go an opposite way. And that's the thing about all these quarterbacks going so high, is that these great players like Sewell are going to fall, and Chase and all these guys are going to fall. Now, to go on Jalen Hurts, I'm not a big Jalen Hurts fan. I never have been, never will be. There's a reason he got taken out of Alabama, right? There's a reason he went to another college, because he got beat out. Got beat out in college, and you expect him to go and be good in the pros. It's kind of iffy there, right? So then, what was his record last year? 1-3 in the 4 starts that he had. He was 1-3. He beat the Saints, like you said, but wasn't that a Taysom Hill game? And we all know what we think about Taysom Hill. But it is what it is. He threw 4 interceptions. He threw 6 touchdowns, like he already said. But his completion, I'm looking at the completion rate, 52%. Come on, that's 52% of your passes, and you want me to back you on that? And could it be because you didn't have great wide receivers? Yeah, maybe it could be that. But how many holes, like I was saying, that the Eagles have this year? They have so many holes. Like, you're not, even if they draft a wide receiver, that's not going to automatically help them. And if you're already having doubts about your quarterback, you're already having doubts about Jalen Hurts as your starting quarterback, well, you already set him up to fail. He's going to fail. So you might as well start looking for somebody. If your plan is to just test him out, you already set him up to fail, and the Eagles and that organization set him up to fail, and they will be in that position. Like I said, I project the Eagles to be the worst team in the league this year, and I think Jalen Hurts is on his way out, but next year's draft class of quarterbacks isn't looking good. So good luck with that. Good luck with that, Philadelphia.
And that's my thinking. Like, I have a problem with everyone saying, "Oh, give your quarterback another year, and just try to draft one the next." But you have a potentially deep quarterback class this year. So if you have question marks about, your signal caller, with it, and I mean at 6, you're likely going to get either one of likely Matt Jones or Justin Fields, depending, as you all said, on what San Francisco does at 3. And if you have Jones to push Jalen Hurts in your quarterback room, like, what's the worst that can possibly happen? I mean, at the end of the day, you can still trade one. If you end up actually liking Jalen Hurts, if you like what you see at training camp and think Jalen Hurts is your guy, then there's nothing wrong with either A, having Matt Jones as his backup, because you're paying these guys on rookie scale contracts at absolutely nothing, because it's not number 1, number 2, or number 3 overall pick. So you're not paying these guys anything. So there's not a situation where you have like a Carson Wentz and an Aaron Rodgers on the same team. Like, that's not happening. Your cap situation is not being tied up at one position. Or the worst case scenario is a quarterback needed team. Well, here we have Matt Jones and or Jalen Hurts, like, come a begging. So I don't understand their position if indeed the reports are true that they're unsure of Jalen Hurts. No, if they're sure, then they have no problem. Then fine, trade out to number 12, and you can have your pick of offensive talent. But if you're unsure about this guy, You can't wait an entire season then to find out, yeah, we were right that this guy is not the guy. Then to go into the draft that is not very deep at quarterback, and then you're 2 or 3 years behind the game when you can get a Matt Jones or a Justin Fields right at this moment. But guys, you all spoke about the holes and the numerous holes that Philadelphia has, and a lot of the ways that obviously we know teams address those holes is in free agency. And I want to say the first week of free agency this season was extremely well. So let's go with you, Joe. First, who was the biggest winner in all of free agency this season?
I like what the Chargers are doing, even though they're in my division. I like how they're building that offensive line around that young quarterback. They went out there and they got the need, and not only did they get the need, they got the top center in free agency. So I like what they've done.
Don't remind me that I've lost Corey Linsley. Please don't remind me.
Yeah, you know what? To be honest, I think I have to stay in the AFC West and go. I like what the Chiefs have done, even though I don't know where they're coming up with all this to get all these guys.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's crazy that they continue to sign people, but it just shows to me that the salary cap means absolutely nothing in the NFL. If you want somebody, you can fit them under the cap. Just signing Reed yesterday, I think it was yesterday they signed Reed from Seattle, the defensive tackle. It's like, there we go. That's another one for him. Those are the two teams that I think have done a very good job in free agency at this moment.
What about you, Cian?
So are we talking just who we like or who we don't?
Who we like first. We'll get to who we don't.
So I think it's got to be Tampa Bay. I mean, how they brought back everything. They brought back Godwin. They brought back Shaq Barrett. They brought back Leonard Fournette. They brought back, that was Antonio Brown still. We don't know if they'll bring him back. I mean, the Chiefs did it when they won the Super Bowl, and at worst, they went back. So at worst, the Tampa Bay are going to go back. I mean, you still have Tom Brady as your quarterback. You have an offensive line who, stepped up immensely last year. You have a coach who's really good. You have a defensive coordinator and offensive coordinator who are very good. You got a steal in the best safety in the class. You had step ups from your secondary. You have the best linebacking core in the league. You brought back Levante David. Can't forget about that. I think that Tampa Bay they did what they needed. They brought back the players that have won them games. So I think just for that, they're the team I think did the best. And I would say I agree, Chiefs. I mean, yeah, where did they get the money for Thuney? I was very surprised about that. I think my Giants, actually, I liked a lot what they did. Obviously, Kenny Golladay, Dory Jackson, who they did overpay. But I don't know. I feel like there have been a lot of teams who have done well, but I would say definitely Tampa Bay. I just think it's scary that they were able to bring all the players back.
Oh, you ruined my take because I thought I was coming in with a hot take. Because I have a saying also, a lot of people forget your free agents are free agents too. And one of the things that, we're addressing the Buccaneers heading into this offseason is how much they stood to lose. When you talk about Shaq Barrett was supposedly going to reach free agency, Chris Godwin, and what did they do? First, they extend Tom Brady, I don't even think it's arguably anymore. It's the greatest quarterback of all time. You extend him. You sign Shaq Barrett, one of the best pass rushers in the NFL right now. You tie Chris Godwin. You bring back Gronkowski. You bring back Leonard Fournette. You re-sign Levante David. You've essentially how can they forget? You re-sign Ndamukong Suh.
Mm-hmm.
The reason you won this Super Bowl was twofold. You brought in the greatest quarterback who's ever lived, and then your defensive front seven was absolutely dominant. And what did you do? You brought back you extended that quarterback, and every member of that front seven is slated to return for 2021. And this is a Super Bowl winning roster. So for me, yes, like Tampa Bay is easily the biggest winners of free agency because they were slated to lose so much. Like it could have gone so wrong so quickly. They could have, and I mean, I'm not a big Leonard Fournette fan either, but you could have lost Fournette. You could have lost Gronk. You could have lost Ndamukong Suh. You could have lost Levante David. You could have lost Chris Godwin. You could have lost Shaq Barrett. All of these are key members of the Super Bowl winning roster. And yet, here it is, the whole band is back together with the absence maybe of Antonio Brown, who may you may not need because you have somebody like Scotty Miller who can get better and fill in that role as a number 3 receiver.
And Tyler Johnson.
And there you go. Like there's so much receiving talent. This is not like, oh my gosh, we need Antonio Brown. Like, all right, well, if he goes, so be it. You're not a key member of the Super Bowl winning roster. So here's my favorite part of this entire show. Who are the biggest losers of free agency? Joe, I know you like this stuff, so let's go, Joe.
The Green Bay Packers.
I was waiting for that.
The Green Bay Packers are the losers of when they brought Aaron Jones back, which could be a good thing or not. You knew right then they had no more money. They were done. And then it just like downhill from there. They lost their center. They lose everybody else. To this day, I don't think they've signed one outside free agent, right? Is that correct?
The only team in the NFL not to have signed an outside free agent, none other than the traditionally draft and develop Green Bay Packers, indeed. Go, Pack, go.
Yeah, so the Green Bay Packers and they brought back your boy, Kevin King.
No, I will not allow you to say it on this program. You are not going to say KK on this program whatsoever. Nope. I hope Neil edited that out.
One game away, and they're not making moves. Like,
I don't know.
I'm
not sure if our general manager didn't watch the NFC title game, but geez, on bread, Kevin King was atrocious. Mm-hmm. But I don't want to stay on my Packers for much longer.
$6 million.
That apparently it's only supposed to be really $2 million in guaranteed money. So hey, there's that. Cian, who are the biggest losers? And I hope you don't have to say the Green Bay Packers as well. Who are for you in free agency?
I'm going to shock you. I think the Patriots were.
I love that pick.
Maybe that's actually not. I thought that was. So I love bringing in 2 tight ends. We've seen what McDaniels can do. Obviously, great offense. I mean, that team, they have some of the greatest coaches I've ever coached. But they bring in Jonnu Smith, who they overpaid for, a tight end who has never gotten over 500 yards, someone who I think people like a lot more than he should be liked. Hunter Henry, great signing, really good tight end. He can, do it for Cam Newton. They then bring in Mr. Joe Morley's wide receiver 1 in Nelson Aguilar and overpay the absolute crap out of him. What was it, 2 years, 26, 13 a year for a guy who, he was pretty good last year, but, had butterfingers on the Eagles, seemed to, do better in Las Vegas, but someone who, if you see it, was averaging, 18.7 yards per catch, a take it over the top receiver with a quarterback who's straining to throw 20 yards. Cam Newton is not a deep ball thrower. Unfortunately, he's past those days. And then you bring in Kendrick Bourne from San Francisco, who's better at dancing than he is at playing football. So they had money. And again, they brought in, tight ends who are receivers. But you look, you had Kenny Golladay and Allen Robinson. You let both of those players slip. You had, Sammy Watkins is gone now. And I think the only really good signing, I thought Matthew Judon was a great signing, really good outside linebacker, fits their scheme, really good at getting to the passer. They don't have that really right now. They didn't really have a pass rush. But I think they're the losers. I think they overpaid. And again, I hate to talk bad about the Patriots because then next year they'll win the Super Bowl with those guys and Kendrick Bourne will be wide receiver 1 and have 1,500 yards and I'll look like an idiot. But I'm going to stick with it. Bill proved me wrong, but I think they're the losers.
I wanted to say the Patriots as well, so I love that take. But I'm in the NFC North, and when I have a chance to crap on the Chicago Bears, I always do. When you get on your Instagram and all your social media feeds and announce that Andy Dalton is your QB1, and you proudly say that, then I have looked no further than the Windy City for being the absolute losers of this entire free agency. And I mean, I agree with Joe. Like, twice we were a game away from making the Super Bowl, and we have done absolutely nothing in terms of outside help to improve the roster. Granted, I think signing back or getting back Aaron Jones is a huge hit because as much as people want to look at the 4 years, $48 million, a lot of that is incentive-based. So it's closer to $9 million a year that Aaron Jones is getting. And if I'm paying $9 million per for a running back in his prime who is so versatile in Aaron Jones, because we know not only is he, so he's a home run hitter as a runner, but also he is so great. I don't think people really rate him in terms of a pass catcher. There are only a couple of running backs right now to put Alvin Kamara and Run CMC right above him in terms of pass catchers, and that's it out of the backfield. Like, you can split Aaron Jones out wide as a wide receiver. Like, that's how good he is as a pass catcher of the backfield. So, yeah, Joe, yeah, we did kind of miss. I'm just not sure what we could have done or the price is right to bring in who. But as I said, when you get on your social media, and we saw what Andy Dalton was in Dallas last season, when you proudly put this man, and I'm not kidding y'all, they put him and had the only caption underneath this pick as QB1, exclamation mark. So you're proud to say that Andy Dalton is your quarterback for the 2021 season. You have got to be. I mean, granted, the way the quarterback market was not great, but you could have seen what New York was willing to give up for Sam Darnold, because you had to know New York was either trading for Deshaun Watson or selecting a quarterback. You didn't try to go after I want to say Jameis Winston. Yes, obviously Jameis was looking at returning to New Orleans. Even Ryan Fitzpatrick, that is a huge upgrade over Andy Dalton this season.
Alex Smith.
You've let him go. And I mean, again, the quarterback market wasn't great. But my gosh, and let me not shit on them too much, because I will say they did try and they came up with a great package to give the Seahawks for Russell Wilson. I think it was like 3 ones,
2 starters,
and I think 2/3. And if that's a package you're giving for Russell Wilson, obviously you tried your best. I can't knock that. But then you can't do that. That is your only option. And you turn around and said, we are going to compete in the NFC North with the Green Bay Packers and the Minnesota Vikings with none other than Andy Dalton, who could not lead a talent-filled Dallas Cowboys roster to the playoffs.
And just for what Joe says, what I've been using a lot for that trade is you go from Russell Wilson to Dalton. It's like getting 2 weeks in Hawaii to a day at a state park. It's I completely agree. And I feel like there had to be whoever was the social media X or whoever does social media for Chicago. It's like they had, Russell Wilson, they had all the jersey changes. And then it's like, Andy Dalton's our guy. And they're like, all right. I mean,
it's to change the captions now.
Yeah.
You better bring this same energy during the season when Andy Dalton beats your Packers.
Hell no. If there are 2 wins that are coming, Joe, I will cross them off. In the Windy City and in Lambeau Field, we can cross off those as 2 W's on our way to 13 more wins next season. You heard it here first. So, guys, before I let y'all hop off quickly, I'm going to start with you, Joe, as a Raiders fan. What is the one more piece you would like to get either in the draft or in free agency that will help you with your roster in that AFC West?
Defense. I don't care what position you take. If you bring in more defense to help the Raiders, thank you. I know we need defensive back safeties. We need cornerbacks. If you want to bring in Richard Sherman, you want to bring in Trey Boston. I don't care who you want to bring in. Bring in defense. Bring in somebody that's bringing leadership and bring them in, because the young team needs some help, and defense is the way to build the Raiders. So I don't care what you take. Defense is where you go.
Same question to you, Cian.
For the Giants, I would like to see us bring in Kyle Pitts in the draft. I think, I think Evan Ingram stole that Pro Bowl selection from Robert Tonyan.
Thank you.
I don't know.
So very much for saying that.
I don't know. Another host on our channel, Charlie, as well, is a Giants fan. We've kind of been clowning that Pro Bowl selection for quite a while. I don't think he deserved it. Again, Ingram, if somehow you're watching this, I love you, big fan. No hate. But, I think in the draft, again, because I feel like cornerback, we kind of addressed it. So I think defensive line, maybe you go Barmore, maybe you go Kwity Paye or Rousseau or Phillips if they're there. but I would love to see Pitts. I mean, that receiving core would be absurd. And I think you move Pitts kind of outside, inside. He can play in the slot. I think, Daniel Jones has no reason. I've been saying this a lot. Daniel Jones will have no excuse. We'll really know if he can be our guy. So I'd say Kyle Pitts.
Guys, we're wrapping up. Cian, y'all are so busy there on his sports scoop. Y'all make me feel so ashamed because y'all putting up content not almost daily and twice daily, 3 times sometimes. So, guys, what do you have coming up on the sports scoop?
No, I mean, we're mainly doing a lot of player profiles for draft. We've done, I think Bateman, we've done Pitts, we've done J.C. Horn. We just came out with our top 5 edge rushers. So, we post daily. We're really coming out with as much content. I think the reason we're able to do that is because sports editing is really not that hard. So I feel like being able to push out content and a lot of our breaking news stuff, that's just like literally record, no editing, post that. So I think mainly draft stuff until the draft is what we'll be coming out with.
So how to find you so the fans can find you? Where do you find you?
We're mainly on YouTube, The Sports Scoop. So you can find us over there, no spaces, THEE Sports Scoop. On Instagram as well, _sports_scoop. We post, when we're posting videos as well on our story, other interactive stuff over there. So you can find us over there. We have a Twitter. We have a podcast, which I think the last time we posted was actually when we had Jay the Plug, but we don't post much. But mainly YouTube is where you can find us. We post daily, so that's where we are.
Joe, the same thing for you almost, even though I feel that our fans don't need to know because they've seen you so often, but I'm joking. How do you feel? Because Warzone, as you know, is one of my favorite sports networks. So Joe, tell us, what do you have coming up and how do the fans find you?
If you want to find just me, it's at Joe Morley Sports on every platform. If you want to find the Warzone Sports Network, which is growing bigger and bigger, you can go to YouTube, TikTok. We're on TikTok, and TikTok is something else, let me tell you. We're growing big on TikTok. But YouTube is our main thing. We got 3 weekly shows, and starting up, we're going to have even more shows. There's more and more adding to it. So keep watching, and Instagram right there as well. We're just interactive. We're just trying to get you guys questions, get you guys interactive with us and watching our shows, and hopefully you guys like it. But I'm glad you like it, Justin.
Of course, I'm supposed to change my LinkedIn bio to say that I was the first guest on the Warzone Sports Network, but I'm going to change that when I leave. Guys, please tell Joe Scorto and Brian Bolster that to bring me on the show, because sometimes I don't agree with their takes and I'm ready to destroy them on their own show on Sports Force. So let Brian know and Joe Scorter that I'm ready whenever, anytime, just call me and I'm ready to destroy them on their own show.
I'll let them know. I'll let them know. They'll be ready for you.
I hope they're watching as well. But guys, Marsha, my traditional host, will be abusing me for going over the well-allotted hour time. So I'm going to wrap up now for Cian and Joe Morley. I am Justin of This Just In, and you know how to find us on Thursday nights as well with Adam Lewis of the What Off Season Sports Podcast when we do our live sessions on Instagram. So for the 2 aforementioned guys, I am indeed Justin of This Just In, and we are signing out. Thanks for watching, and back here on Monday.
I don't have a mark on my face, and I upset Johnny Liston, and I just turned 22 years old. I must be the greatest. I told the world, I talk to God every day. If God's with me, ain't nobody here just the same. I shook up the world. I shook up the world. I shook up the world. I shook up the world.
I said, can I be a legend? Search your soul and answer me this question. Do you think I have what it takes to be great, but still be humble and learn from my mistakes? Shit.